say a ship is going down.
Yeah.
Now, everyone's throwing out life jackets.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's throwing you a life jacket, are you going to say, no, I'm not taking a life jacket? Why wouldn't you take a life jacket? You know, it'll help you survive. No, I don't want a life jacket. When you go to these women and you say, leave him, he's doing this, he's doing that, leave him. I can see that he's punched you in the eye.
You've got a black eye.
Yeah, you can't cover it with makeup.
Yeah.
No makeup in the world will cover that, China. Yet, they don't listen. So when they don't listen, you know, when you say, do you want a life jacket? If they want to do their own thing, then how is it not their fault? If someone's offering you a life jacket and you turn down a life jacket and you drown, whose fault is it?
No, I agree.
It's their fault.
I agree. Look, I think one of the things that I want to look into when it comes to this topic, and I completely agree with what you're saying here. There's this syndrome, and I don't know if I'm going to say it properly, Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a city in Sweden, so I don't know how that. It's Sweden, right? Yeah. I think people just fall under the other person's spell, and they can do no bad, and they trust them, and they fall in love with them.
Yeah.
And it's a syndrome that happens a lot with children that are abducted by somebody else, even if it's not a family member, to the point where they've got the opportunity to leave, and they just don't. Like an example is, I think her name was Amy Smart, in America, in Utah. She was abducted by two strangers, and she had a few opportunities to run away for about, it was at least a year, and it got to the point where they would go out in public with her. And a copper a police officer recognized her and said, "Are you Amy Smart?" She's like, "No." So I think there's that mental fucking that somebody can do to somebody, you know?
There's brainwashing. And that's very real. Look, that is a really, really good point. You can get brainwashed, but at some point you got to snap out of it.
Oh, I agree.
And I believe it does a humongous disservice when you tell them stay. I hated how people find excuses for them, because it doesn't help at all.
Yeah. Look, it's not the 1920s anymore, okay? We're in the 21st century. It's, 2019. There are so much support out there. And there's a lot of places that people in abusive relationships that leave and are fearful for their lives, where they can go to. Just Google it. Where do I go? And every city in the world, in the Western world, they have place that you can go to so you can feel safe.
Exactly.
They exist. Now, if we went back 100 years, our conversation would be very different. But these support networks exist right now.
Exactly.
So I just don't understand it.
Why do you think back in the day we had that whole system in place where the husband can hit the wife, mainly the husband hitting the wife? It was unknown for women to go crazy and hit the guy. The guy had the very tough, he was the man. Why do you think back then, it was physical punishments? But just in general, they had a lot of physical punishments back in the day. Even at school, if you'd fail an exam, they'd whack you on the hand with their ruler. What do you think changed?
So your question is, what has changed? Where?
In the last 50 or so years, what do you think has shifted where now people are like, we shouldn't physically abuse people?
I think it's got a lot to do with just us as, as a society just becoming, better.
We've definitely evolved.
Evolving. Like, you're looking back and, for thousands of years, one way you could, if there was, an argument between two countries, there wasn't the United Nations, they didn't have the European Union, they didn't have a room where you can both go into and discuss. Like an example is those rooms at the border between North Korea and South Korea, where they can go and discuss shit.
And in those rooms, they're always diplomatic. They hate each other's guts.
They hate each other's guts. Like, they do, but they're going to sit there and going to be diplomatic because there's cameras now. And, you know, back in the day, and we're going to go back thousands of years, you know, from the time of Alexander the Great and all those wars back then. They didn't have these kind of, let's just chill, you know, have a drink and just discuss things. No, we just kill each other. So I think we've reached a point where violence is not, it's not the only option. I think back then violence was the only option. You couldn't just sit down and discuss. You were perceived as weak.
I mean, they were coming off of World War One, World War Two, and you know, when you see stuff like that happen, you just think it's normal.
Yeah.
I think killing and hurting people back in the day is as normal as eating meat is today.
Yeah.
And now slowly, in the next 30 years, maybe less, now eating meat won't be considered normal.
Yeah.
Possibly. So I think
unfortunately, just want to throw that in.
I think it's just the norm back then. It's very weird to think about it now, man, because you know, people get concussions so easily, and you know, you can just go up to someone and clip them behind the head, and all of a sudden they're in hospital and they can't remember what year it is. But back then, you would cop slaps to the back of the head all the time. You know, you'd cop punches. You know?
Oh yeah, look,
you'd cop kicks to the head.
Absolutely.
It's fucked up, and to think now how we're very aware with concussions, and we're aware with the damage it does to us. It's amazing how, I mean, even growing up, back then, kids will cop slaps in the face, and when you slap someone in the face hard enough, your whole face goes numb. It affects your head as well. They don't have to actually hit your head. They can whack you very hard on the face, and you can get a concussion from that.
Absolutely.
And we're talking 7, 8-year-old kids that are nagging their parents for a toy, and the parent just turns around, bang, and in public, back then, bang.
That was normal.
That kid could have a concussion at 7 years old.
Absolutely, and I think it's got a lot to do with that. Like we've evolved. Violence it's not as acceptable as it used to be. I'm pretty sure, back, in the 30s or 40s, if a man hit his wife, it wasn't really considered a big deal. Now it is a big deal, and I'm glad it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But I think, like I was saying about the wars, just imagine if Roosevelt, FDR, back in 1942 said, "Oh, look, Hitler, let's just sit and talk." Imagine Alexander the Great saying, "Oh, guys, we're not going to attack you. Let's just talk." No, that wasn't. You were perceived as weak, and you've already lost. You've lost your people.
That's right.
And I think now, look, we've seen what war has done to a lot of societies. World War II, millions of people died. Entire race almost got wiped off the face of the earth.
Wow. Yeah.
And you go back to when America began as it became a country with slavery. There weren't just these the Africans that were brought over. They weren't just slaves like do this, do that. They used to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, it was
and that was accepted back then, and we don't accept that right now. Now we've got special laws. We don't just have laws for don't do this. We've got it.
Now we've got laws where we've got to get the right pronoun. Oh, it's crazy.
Exactly.
It's become crazy under us.
Absolutely.
Do you think that? Violence then, physical, did that have an impact on people being able to, learn about discipline, as opposed to now where you talk to them and they're either going to listen to you or they're not? Hitting a woman or hitting anyone is not right. In a relationship, even where you're at work, if your manager doesn't like the work you've done, they're not going to start putting you down and booting you in the face. But do you think that physical, and this is going to get taken the wrong way, do you think that physical violence will make a person wake the fuck up, do the right thing, listen, learn, as opposed to sitting them down and saying, well, hey, please don't do this, you for example, you keyed my car, look, please don't do that again. Or, you've gone and you've, sexually harassed my woman, and you've tapped her on the ass, at a cafe, but, just please don't do that again. Or do you reckon a punch to the face will make that person never tap another woman's ass again? What do you reckon is more effective?
I think it depends on the circumstances.
I kind of put you on the spot now, didn't I?
It depends on the circumstances. If somebody sexually harasses another person, they deserve,
they do.
deserve a punch. I'm a big believer of eye for an eye.
Yeah.
And I do think that sexual harassment will be followed by a good beating.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, man, and I agree with you 100%. Some people, man, I've heard some people say, well, an eye for an eye, you're just as bad as them. If you want eye for an eye, go to Saudi Arabia. If you want eye for an eye, do what they do there, And we're not talking to that extent, the law's there, and we're not talking, just go out there and be a maniac and, but we're talking about context.